Traders, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a very quick rundown and going over the top stocks going into tomorrow and specifically trading options on these stocks. Now, if you don't know, here on the channel, I primarily am trading options and going over potential setups on the channel. Now, every single day, Monday through Friday, I try to push this video out, giving you an overall watch list going into the next day of at least 3 stocks that I'm looking at personally. It doesn't matter if the market's going up or the market's going down. I try to get this pushed out every single day. I have been slacking the past few days, so bear with me, but I have a few good stocks that I really like and they look like they could be making a big move in the coming days. So let's not waste any more time. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's get to it. All right, so the first one we're going to be looking at is actually going to be Root. Now, this is the dark horse. A lot of people have been asking me questions. Tyler, make an update on Root, make an update on Root, make an update on Root. Now, I have addressed this already. I've been saying that I haven't pushed in yet. I was waiting more till we got closer to these earnings because I believe these earnings are going to be a very telltale sign for the company. Now, if you don't know, you can actually see right there that the short interest is actually accruing. We're sitting above 50% right now, and it's estimated that we're actually above 60%. So that is worth noting as well. The utilization is sitting very close to 100% as well. Things are lining up for an overall push. All that's waiting for here is actually going to be just some sort of catalyst, which earnings could be that catalyst. Take a look at Rocket Mortgage if you have any doubts. The last time Rocket Mortgage had their earnings, this is essentially the same play that was setting up, and Rocket Mortgage ended up killing on their earnings. Looking at the chart, we're in a regression trend coming down right now over the past week or so, and you can kind of see this downtrend that we have going on. We had a push up and then slowly trickling back down, but we're actually holding last week's open right here, and then we're actually getting rejected at the monthly open that we opened up today. Now, what I want to see here is a push back above, and then getting back above that 10.7 range, I do believe will have momentum to at least push to this 13.2, 13.3 range up there. That's where I'll be looking in the short term. But if you're looking here and you're like, Tyler, didn't you just say a squeeze? Honestly, this thing could go absolutely berserk with enough momentum. The volume on it is absolutely pathetic, so that's another thing to take into account here. If this starts getting legs, this will not just be a day trade. This will be a pretty monstrous trade when it comes to the option side of things. Personally, I'm looking for at least 2 to 3 weeks out. I want to have a little bit date on these, but I do like what's going on, and I anticipate earnings will be pretty nice. Now, if you want to take the safer route, I would wait till after earnings to make any type of play on this, but I do like what they're doing, and I anticipate some decent earnings. It's worth mentioning that post market right there is actually wrong. They're sitting at 10.66 right now. Okay, so the next one up is going to be Exxon, and Exxon has been one of my top traded stocks overall. I love trading oil because if you time the market right, you can make quite a bit of money and you can really ride the trend. Now, the worrisome thing with trading oil is you have to be paying attention to current events and you have to be paying attention to the government, and that's something that I kind of force myself to do now because when you trade oil, you can make quite a bit of money like I mentioned just a second ago. This range right here was broken. It was actually tested right here once. We broke above it, held, pushed back to those new highs of 62. We rode it here, broke back down. And that's currently where we're testing right now, trying to break back above. It looks to make the same exact movement, but on an inverted level, right? So we had the test here, shot down, and then pushed back up, and then we retested here and then broke back down. Right here, we tested, came down. I believe we're going to test and then push right through. That's what I'm looking at here on Exxon. I'm feeling very confident in oil as well. And then we had earnings come out across the board. They reported very good earnings. They did end up beating across the board as well as Shell. And then today we're getting the West Texas oil plays coming in. Today we had Fang at Diamondback Energy come in, and they absolutely demolished earnings, showing that the price demand is there. And when the increase of these barrels of crude oil is going through the roof, this is directly increasing with their revenue. I mean, Fang absolutely destroyed earnings. That's worth taking into account, and I believe oil is going to start reflecting this in the coming days and weeks. Now, these aren't really day trades per se going into right now, just because the market is on the downside at the moment. I'm looking at more conservative type plays, but on the option side, this thing could easily start getting momentum and pushing up to double, maybe even 75% of your money on the lower end of things if we start getting that push up. I do want to see a 62.5 retest, at least for that double top, but there's honestly a high chance we push past these ranges because we're going into summer, and we know oil performs best when it comes to the summer months. What I want to talk about here is going to be Target. This is going to be the last stock on the list for today. Another runner-up would actually be Norwegian Cruise Lines. If you want to check those guys out as well, they look pretty bullish, but I'm not going to be trading cruise lines right now, but they do look really strong. Now, retail has been absolutely shredding. Target got a price target raise, and they came up to this local high. I'm honestly anticipating they get a retrace back to the downside to about 209, maybe the lower 209s. So if I had to give a price range, it'd be 2097 down to 209.2, give or take in that range there. That's where I'd be comfortable. This is more of a day trade, and this is what I'd be looking for. So you're seeing that we're getting this trend that we have going on here. We're getting a wedge. This is a very bearish pattern. As we break out underneath this wedge, I anticipate it's going to be pretty violent back down to the downside, trickling down to that major support. This is a major level of support right there. And you can also see this is a major gap right here. So we actually could come down a little bit lower, about to 208, but I'm being conservative here like I mentioned, and this is the range that I'm targeting, 2097 down to 209.2. Target is actually a very good stock, so this is not a long-term trade at all. So I'd be looking to see if we start breaking out of this range right here on the OBV, because that would lead us and show that the indicators are right and pushing this stock down on the daily. Looking at the market, these are the rougher weeks to make money, but it's important to know and to develop your trading strategy and focus on stocks no matter the way the market is moving, trading the downside as well as the upside. That's why I don't recommend just trading the upside. Stocks do in fact come down occasionally.
It's Armageddon.
Yeah, that's right.
How come nobody's talking about this?
You're completely sure of the math.
Now, I don't recommend forcing yourselves into trades. Make sure you're still meeting that criteria to enter your trades. Again, this is not financial advice. You need to do your own DD. You're responsible for your own money and your losses. That's the important part. I recommend fact checking everything that I say to make sure I'm not full of BS. Have a good one, traders. We'll be back tomorrow. Namaste.